little change of scenery today. I'm in my sister's room. Shout out my teddy bear. Just kidding. I just want to give a quick disclaimer. I really don't want to come off as braggy in this video. I'm just trying to help you guys, hopefully by giving my statistics, letting you guys know what my application actually had. But if it comes off braggy, I really don't mean it like that. Okay, back to the video. Love you guys. Hello everyone, my name is Freya. I make videos about college, high school, everything else in between, and today's video, it's a hard hitter. Today we're going to be talking about my college application experience. So at the beginning of my senior year, I decided to apply to over 30 colleges, including most of the Ivy Leagues, most of the UCs, some other really good colleges like Duke, Rice, NYU, Vanderbilt, places like that. And then also some in-state schools. For me, I was in Alabama, so I applied to Alabama, Auburn, and then also UT, where I'm going, and some other places. Watching this video, you might be thinking, why in the world, Freya, did you decide to apply to so many places? And the answer is, I just didn't really know where I wanted to go. I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do. So in my head, my thinking was, you're applying to college once, so you might as well apply to as many places as you can because you never know. Now, going through the whole thing, I definitely, if I could go back, would not apply to so many places. I would really research a lot more and figure out which places were actually a good fit, because I think I applied to a lot of places that, like, realistically I wouldn't have gotten into because I wouldn't have been a good fit for their community. You know what I mean? So I think it's really important to research colleges that you're thinking of applying to and make sure that you kind of fit in that vibe. I know you guys are gonna ask about scores, so I'm just gonna put that out there. I had a 35 on the ACT. My GPA was like a 4.43, I wanna say. I did take some subject tests, but I was not happy with the scores, so I ended up not submitting those and still got offers from some good places. So keep that in mind. Remember, I always say this, scores are not everything. Your essays, your extracurriculars matter a lot more than scores do. Talking about extracurriculars, see that transition right there? Talking about extracurriculars, some of my biggest things were I work with this nonprofit about feminism. You can check out all about it. It's linked in my bio in my Instagram. So you can check my Instagram through my bio down here, and through that, you can go look at the nonprofit. It's called Ready to Run. Other than that, I have been acting since middle school, and I've done a lot of competitions, won a lot of like state prizes, things like that. I've also done a lot of speech competitions and won like national level. I was in a lot of different clubs at school, president of like a lot of different clubs, things like that. But honestly, you don't need to do everything at your school. You don't need to be in all the clubs. You don't need to be officers in all the clubs. Just actually pursue things that you're passionate about, and that will show in the college application process. As far as essays go, I wrote a lot of my essays about like childhood stories. I kind of grew up in India, and then I moved here, and then like my dad has a really interesting job, and my mom has been through like a lot of different like career things. So I used a lot of those things to kind of inspire my stories. I will make a video about how to figure out what to write your essay about, but it's just kind of like think about things that are super significant in your life and see what that tells about you, and see if that could fit into the story you're trying to tell through your college applications, because it really is a story. Think about it like you're selling a movie and you're that movie. So why would someone want to watch your movie? You know, like what's so special about your movie? That's what you're trying to show through your college applications. That was like an overview of my extracurriculars. Obviously there's a lot more in depth of everything, but yeah. I will say another super important thing is picking your major. For me, like I said, I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to get into. I kind of had two broad ideas, either like a career as a lawyer, so like law, or like medicine. So those were the two things that I know, two completely different things, but those were the two things that I was kind of debating between. So I decided to apply to some colleges pre-med and some colleges pre-law. And especially this really applies to like prestigious colleges, like Ivy League colleges. If you're trying to get into colleges like that, most of the time you won't go in with a major. So even though you're applying as a major, you get the first 2 years to kind of just take different classes, see what's right for you, and then you pick a major. So it's important that you pick a major when you're applying that obviously interests you, but also fits in your story. You know what I mean? Like for me, now looking back at my application, looking back at all my extracurriculars, everything I've done, my narrative fits a lot better under pre-law, which doesn't mean that I need to become a lawyer. It just means that the things I've done in high school point more towards that direction than medicine, which can be seen through my results. Most of the places that I did get offers from were places that I applied to as pre-law and not pre-med. So looking back, for me, my chances might have been higher at getting into places if I applied pre-law, you know? That's important to kind of figure out if the major you're picking fits into your story. And if it doesn't, and it's something you really are passionate about, then maybe talk about it in your essays. Talk about why you're passionate about it and why your extracurriculars don't really fit into that. So basically, all of first semester, I spent working on those applications, all the essays, really writing essays. I had like, I don't even know how many essays. I like made a huge spreadsheet, kept it organized. If you are applying to a lot of colleges, a tip is that many times essays can be overlapped because many different colleges use essay topics that are not the same but like similar, and you can use an essay you've written before for a different college and like tweak it for that specific essay. So think about that so you don't have to write a new essay for every single thing. So think about that if you're applying to a lot of colleges. So once I submitted all my applications, end of the semester, I was so happy. And then I got a bunch of interviews, and interviews can be intimidating, obviously, but you have to remember that if you're given an interview, then they are considering you, you know, like you've made it past the benchmark of like scores or whatever it may be. So you weren't like a person they looked at and they were like, nah, like we don't want her, or we don't want him. So it's obviously important to do good in interviews. For me, because I've done so much, you know, like public speaking, acting, things like that, I wasn't super worried about the interviews, and I want to say that most of my interviews did go pretty well. But you just have to remember to be yourself. Like, don't try to be a perfect student, just be yourself, because they're not trying to look for the model student. They just want to know what's special about you. If there's anything that you think you missed in your application that you didn't get to talk about, or more importantly, if you've done something really significant extracurricular wise since you submitted your application, I think interviews are a great time to talk about it. But if your interview doesn't go well, it's not the end of the world. I've heard of people that have had horrible interviews but have still gotten into, you know, that college. So it's not the end of the world if your interview doesn't go as planned. But obviously it is important to always try to put out the best version of yourself, whether that means looking nice or having a resume, being on time, you know, just little things like that. So once interviews are over, you get like 2 months to just wait and do nothing. I mean, obviously I heard back from a lot of state colleges. I got into UT Austin, Bama, Auburn, like Rutgers, Penn State. A lot of like the state colleges, public colleges basically come out with their results a lot before. I got into a lot of the UCs like Irvine, San Diego. Basically, I think all the UCs other than UCLA and Berkeley, the results come out before, but Berkeley and UCLA comes out later, kind of like with the other applications. I got into all these colleges, great, but I was really waiting until like Ivy Day. So at the end of it, the first one I wanted to open was UC Berkeley. I don't know why, but I was just inclined to open that one first, and I got into Berkeley. And for Berkeley, I guess some of the tips as far as like how to get into Berkeley, I was an out-of-state student, right? If you're in-state, then really it just matters a lot about your GPA, things like that, but it's a lot more difficult out of state and international. I think some of the things that helped me a lot is having good test scores. Obviously, like Berkeley does really care about your scores. They definitely have that as like a high benchmark. That is important, but also just being passionate. I think something they look at more than other places is like diversity and just how passionate you are about whatever it may be. So I think just really show that passion through your essays and just come across like a genuine person. Then gave a lot of different rejections from a lot of places. I did get waitlisted at YALE and UPENN, NYU, and a few other places. And again, the places I did get waitlisted at, I applied pre-law. So that's another thing that kind of like you know? So really think about that when you're applying. Once everything came in, I was really deciding between UT and Berkeley. And at the end of the day, I decided to go with UT. It would be closer to home. UT still has a lot of amazing resources. It was a better fit for me than Berkeley was. So yeah, that was kind of my college story. I am gonna be a freshman, like I said, at UT Austin. I am super excited. My classes are online. By the time you're watching this video, my classes have probably already started. I don't like online classes. If you like this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up, subscribe, let me know in the comments down below if you have any questions, if you want me to talk about any part of the process more in detail. Make sure to follow my socials, linked in the bio, up here somewhere. And with that being said, I will see you guys next time. Until then, push! This is Buddy, by the way. Thumbnail.